Welcome. Dancing with the Stars or Masked Singer?
Ooh, I did Dancing with the Stars. I didn't do Masked Singer, but Dancing with the Stars was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. And I'm mad I said no for 12 years. So I'm team Dancing with the Stars 100%.
Oh my God. I've said no for 2 years. I might have to
do it. I'm telling you.
I'll think about it, man.
I'm telling you.
I'm trying to get flexible, bro. I've been stretching every day for the last month. I'm just trying to get my flexibility back.
You're talking to the most unflexible human alive. And the person, even though I was an actor, I consider myself shy. I do not dance. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Do it. I promise.
Wow. Okay. All right. Jesus. I'm going to, don't tell my wife that, because then I'm 100% in.
Do it. Do it.
Okay. Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and germs, because we're welcoming someone who's blazing TV screens and racetracks worldwide. Hold on to your butts, because today we have none other than Frankie Muniz, straight out of New Jersey. Frankie took things up in North Carolina for a stint, going from your everyday genius to acting sensation, and eventually everyone's favorite teenage heartthrob Malcolm in the Middle, as well as secret agent Cody Banks and so many more. Flash forward to now, and Frankie is setting a new pace as a NASCAR driver, moving up the ranks and participating in races across the country. As a dedicated husband, a proud father to a 2-year-old son, Frankie's voyage spans from the glitz of Hollywood to the adrenaline-fueled racetrack, showcasing his unwavering resolve and all-out attitude. Frankie, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you for sure.
Well, dude, you have to walk me through it. I mean, you go from arguably from anyone that I've ever heard of, just talk about night and day difference. You go from acting to NASCAR to racing. I mean, I've seen clips of you, you've been kind of around this your whole life, but dude, walk me through it, man.
I don't have the typical story of how people become either. Right. When I was a kid, I did everything. I played every sport there was. I was involved in every aspect of types of activities or hobbies that you could be in. I'd go from, being the star running back of the little peewee football team to soccer practice to tap and jazz class to going to play rehearsal to be in a Christmas Carol, whatever it was. So it's one of those things I never said to myself, oh, I really want to be an actor, and that's what I want to dedicate all my life to. It was one of the many things that I did that just happened to, and I'm very fortunate, kind of took over, right? It took over my life, and as soon as I started, it kind of never stopped until I decided to put a pause on it to pursue racing. So, it's definitely not the typical path, I think, for people to go from acting to racing or whatnot, but I was fortunate because I was an actor. It actually got me involved in being a race car driver because I did the pro celebrity race that they do at Long Beach, or they used to do every year for 40 years. They had this big race they put on at the Long Beach Grand Prix where they send you out to train at a racetrack with the professional instructors and all that for a number of weeks before the race. And even though it was a pro celebrity race, people were going hard, right? People were dedicated, and I happened to win that.
No way.
And that feeling, honestly, of all the things I've accomplished in my life, that feeling of crossing the finish line first was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. And I knew that's what I want. I want to chase that. I want to compete. I want to put in all my time and effort to being a race car driver, and hopefully to relive that moment, hopefully to have another opportunity to have that feeling of being the best. One thing that I love about being a race car driver, way more than being an actor. Well, as an actor, I could dedicate my entire life to that role, to that project, to, making sure I did what I thought was my best ever. And you watch the movie and go, it wasn't very good. He was okay.
Yeah.
Where as a race car driver, it's not subjective. You're either the fastest and you're the best, or you're not. You know what I mean? And I love that it's just kind of in black and white there.
I get it, man. I've played in sports. I've played as a streamer now, where it's very subjective, right? People either they think I'm entertaining or I'm not.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer, back when I was competing, professionally in esports and in gaming, because you're absolutely right. There's that feeling of, it's like, oh yeah, they like me as a professional, but like when it comes to my skill, my placements, my talent, like that's not subjective, right? Like it's your placements and your how the money that you win, the tournaments that you play in, like that reflects your talent. And dude, I get it, man. And those pro-ams or whatever they're called, right, where they pin a professional with just a celebrity or whatever the fact. I've done it in Fortnite. I've been a part of those for a while now. Wow, talk about like. You're absolutely right. There's some people that take it so serious, dude.
Oh, 100%.
Like it's a night and day difference. I said that already, but like it's a night and day difference. Sometimes you just see players they're just going for fun, right? And then you just see like half the other group, half the other pros and celebs are just like absolutely balls to the wall, sweating, just going in, like they're treating this super serious. And I love it. I think it's part of the entertainment, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been right now, as of today, like a professional NASCAR racer, or like you're on the journey, whatever the...
I started racing in 2004, doing that pro celebrity race. 2006 was my first pro season. And how that even developed from winning that pro celebrity race, a team that had a Champ Car team, Champ Car Atlantic and a former BMW team, they offered me a test, right? Just for fun, come down to Houston, we'll put you in the race car, do some laps, have fun. And by the end of that test, I was actually quicker than the driver the professional driver that they had signed.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, oh, wait, this could actually, we didn't think that this could be serious. We thought you'd have fun, but they signed me to this 2-year development deal. And all of a sudden I was a professional race car driver. Most people start racing when they're 4, 5, 6 years old. I started at, 19. So I was already pretty old in the racing world, but found success in it, moved up to the Champ Car Atlantic Championship, where I raced for 3 years until, this is in 2009. Yeah. I broke my back. I had pins put in my hand, broken ribs, broken ankle in a really bad accident. That said, I always thought, I'm going to heal and I'm going to be a race car driver for the rest of my life. That was the game plan. But it took me so long to heal that I missed the entire next season. And in racing, like other professional sports, if you miss a year, you almost have to start over, right? You have to prove yourself. You've got to, find the sponsors, find the team, find the people to pick you to be their guy, right? And you have to start over.
Especially when you're a solo, right? There's no you're absolutely right. It's not like, oh, I'll just get drafted by like a pickup team and then I can,
Most sports are similar in that sense.
Yeah.
Football, you miss a year, there's another guy there. Right? Yeah. And he might have a breakout year and he becomes their guy, the team's guy.
Yeah.
So racing is kind of that same thing. And I actually, while I was healing, I joined a band and I was a drummer in a band, and other things in my life started kind of taking over, right? That's kind of my personality. Like when I dive into something, I dive in 100%. So while I was healing, I dove into something else. But in the back of my mind, I always said, I'm going to go back racing. And it wasn't until after 13 years, not racing, I said, I'm not getting any younger. If I'm going to do it, I need to do it right now. And instead of doing the type of racing I was doing in the past, I want to go NASCAR racing. Here I am, my first year in stock cars, my first year, racing at a professional level in the NASCAR world, where I'm learning new cars, new tracks, and all that. But I'm dedicated, and it's been going pretty good. I'm currently second in the points, competing for the championship, with intention of hopefully doing this for as long as I can. But it's definitely not easy. There's ups and downs. The highs of racing are really, really high, but the lows are really, really low. And, depending on what week you talk to me, I'm either having the best time of my life or like, man, this is so much harder than I expected. And it's kind of, do I want to keep fighting for it? Of course I do. But, you have those emotions all the time. It's crazy.
Dude, so I don't know how into gaming you are, right? But I'm gonna kind of talk like you have some sort of, do you know what a battle royale is, right? And like the genre. Okay, so I made this comparison the other day. I was sitting watching NASCAR a little bit, and I was like, dude, like how annoying must it be to have somebody make a mistake on the track and like hit you, right? And completely ruin your race. And I was like, what? I was like, there's nothing compares to this whatsoever in gaming except for battle royale, dude. Like you can queue into you can go into a tournament. There's 100 other players. and somebody who's in dead last can, target you and like, hold you in the zone and ruin your entire tournament.
Yeah.
Like, right. And they're like, they're not good. They are the ones who made a mistake. They made a stupid play. It affected you.
Yep.
Like, dude, first off, how frustrating is that?
It is the most frustrating thing. I mean, we've had actually the last couple races, maybe the last 5 weeks. In those 5 weeks, we've unfortunately had 4 issues with the car, right? Some battery issues. We had a drive shaft break. We had just things that are out of your control. And there's nothing worse than when you feel like you didn't even get a chance to compete, right?
Right.
But at the same time, what I'm learning as a driver, or even just me as a human, like my personality, is it is part of the sport. It is unfortunately a part that like you are going to have bad races. You are going to have big wrecks, that you're going to get taken out by people that you're not even racing with that shouldn't affect you. There are going to be mechanical issues. So I'm trying to be better at not letting it like eat me up
right
after the race or the week. Even this past weekend, we just raced in Milwaukee. I had this alternator issue and the car died on the racetrack on lap 17. I had to come in the pit. We changed the batteries. I ended up going down a few laps, right? And it killed me that you're just, you have 200 laps then kind of by yourself, just trying to stay out of everyone's way.
Yeah.
But then I go home and, I let it eat me up a little bit, right? I go, man, like I look bad on paper, right?
Right. You have
Even
to be
though
there.
it wasn't necessarily something that I did or my performance, it was something that happened to happen. It was a fluke incident that happened. And I let it eat me up. And my wife has to kind of talk sense into me. She's like, look, this is a learning year. This is part of it. You've got to forget it and start preparing for next week, because you can't carry over that frustration or that,
baggage. Yeah.
That baggage to next week. Next week's a whole new week and you got to be ready to attack. And she's right. So I'm trying to be better at that, but it's part of the learning process. It just is in general. So
Dude.
That's even like a life lesson for me. I do hold, like, personally, I am guilty of letting things affect me for longer than they should.
Yeah.
Right. I need to learn how to get over things and move forward 100%.
I think that's the competitiveness in both of us. It's very difficult sometimes to get over things and you dwell on them. What could you have done better? But like, it's that competitiveness in you, right? You definitely don't want people to reflect and look at the position that you got in that. And even though it wasn't your fault, it was just a car issue. And you're sitting there like, dude, somebody's gonna look at this race and be like, wow, this guy sucked this race. Like, he must be no good. And it's tough to get through that too, but it's incredible that you have an amazing and supportive wife that is just, trying to help you stay focused and see the bigger picture. I know what that's like. We're very blessed to have women like that in our lives.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very grateful.
So, dude, you talked about your accident a while ago. I mean, how long ago was that from right now?
That was 2009, end of 2009. So yeah, 14 years ago.
14 years. All right. So
here's the crazy thing. Like, the kid who won the race last weekend is 15 years old. And I'm like, my time off is almost as old as the kids I'm racing. You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
man,
I know, man. I'm 32 years old in gaming years. That is, it's never been done before. It's never been done before. It's ancient. It's never been done before. Back in the day, then again, there weren't, so like, I could go. I can talk about this forever. The people say that there's like a cap, right, or like an age where you start just going downhill when it comes to gaming.
Yeah,
and I think that gaming hasn't even been around long enough to know, right? Especially because the reason that a lot of players competitively start to fall off towards their older years is because back in the day, like when I say back in the day, I mean like 10, 20 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. There wasn't a way to make like a very, very good living gaming, right? Yeah. So they had to prioritize other things, right? They couldn't just sit there and play video. College would happen, right? It's like, oh, I got to go to college. I got to get an education. And then there was like, oh, I need to get a job. I need to get a real job. Like, cause like you're not making, hundreds of thousands of dollars 10, 15 years ago. So these people are entering their early 20s, mid 20s, and like they're getting hit with this reality check where they can't just sit there and play video games for 8 hours a day and practice as much as they used to. So that this, all of a sudden here it comes, oh, here are these old guys, they're falling behind, and the young kids. And at the end of the day, man, I was sitting here, my mid 20s, my early 30s right now, and I'm still freaking, I'm still shitting, right, on on all these players a lot of the times. Like, and it's because what do I do all day?
Well,
right?
You're going to be the case study, right? You're going to be
100%, dude. Me and all the other
60 years old, still killing the game, and people are going to be like, "Oh no, it's not a young man's sport."
Right. It's like, oh, he's losing his hand-eye coordination at the age of, old Grandpa Ninja, 40 years old, just freaking still shit talking these 12-year-olds, man.
Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's never gonna change either, because I'm a gamer my entire life, and it's always gonna be like that.
Yeah.
So unlike gaming, when it comes to actually physically, preparing for tournaments and stuff like that, I've watched recently on TikTok. So I've gotten into racing a little bit. Like I've been watching it with one of my buddies in Florida.
Nice.
It's fun to have a nice little beer. You're just sitting there grilling out, watching the cars go left. They're turning left.
You never have to remember. You don't have to remember which way you have to go.
Right.
Yeah.
They're turning left and they're going fast. But dude, talk about like the physical. Like, what kind of training do you go through physically to prepare yourself? Because you're going like what's like your top speed, right? On like the stretch, like 180, 200 miles per hour.
Yeah,
more.
It really depends on the track, right? But the fastest that we went this year was at Michigan. I think we hit like 205 going into turn one. I mean, it's fast, but speed is relative because like there's tracks that we race at that are a lot smaller. Like we go from like a Daytona, which is 2.5 miles, Talladega is 2.66 miles per lap, to a 3rd mile track in Elko, Minnesota, like this season.
Yeah.
And when you're going top speed is 105 miles an hour, it's all relative, right? Because you're pushing it to the limit. And when you drive anything at the limit, that's when it feels fast. So sometimes actually the slower tracks feel faster. It's weird. It's hard to explain.
So, that's so interesting. I get it.
Yeah. But as far as physically training, I think, a lot of people have like a misconception of what it takes to be a race car driver physically.
Mm-hmm.
Basically everyone on this planet drives, right? You get in your car, you drive to the store, you drive to the gym, you drive to work. So everyone thinks like, oh, I can drive. I don't get tired driving. Like, it's not physically demanding. I put it in this perspective. I wear a heart rate monitor in the race car. And for the 2 to 3 hours, depending on, what race we're doing, it never drops below 180 beats per minute. And that's not because I'm like anxious. It's because you're physically working so hard to keep that car on the track, making split-second decisions, physically, like, when I used to drive Indy cars or like the open wheel cars, like Formula One, IndyCar, all that is more physically demanding from like a muscle standpoint, like even holding your head up. When you're pulling 5 Gs in a corner, your head, the equivalent, it weighs like 120 pounds. So your neck muscles, everything's straining, try to physically hold onto the car. But in the NASCAR world, it's a little less physical muscle-wise. Cardio-wise, it's extreme. The heat, it's 150 degrees inside the car. And you don't get a break, right? Like you're making, like gaming, you're making split-second decisions, in milliseconds, and you mentally start to get fatigued, right? So you need to be mentally sharp, physically sharp. So for me, like, I'm in the gym the most I've ever been in my life. Being older, that is, you have to be, right? I've got to work harder than these kids. But I work out 2 to 3 hours a day, a lot more cardio based than I used to do, just to kind of be in good shape. You don't want to let your physical ability to determine how hard you push in the race. At the beginning of this season at Daytona, Phoenix, those races, I wasn't in full race shape yet, right? The real, even though you can train in the gym, until you're physically out there doing it, that's the only way to really kind of get into race shape. With 50 laps to go with the Phoenix race, I'm going to admit, I was dead. Like, I physically could not hold on to the steering wheel anymore. And I was really fast there. And it's a shame because I had to stop attacking. I had to start kind of just maintaining and trying not to make mistakes. And instead of potentially winning that race, I finished 6th. So I look back at that and I go, man, I wish I was in better shape for that race because I could have done better. You know what I mean? So I don't want that to determine my results. So I'm working as hard as I can outside of the car to be physically ready. Inside the car. One cool thing that wasn't really around, speaking of gaming and all the technology in that sense, when I was racing before, there were obviously racing video games and stuff like that, but they weren't, you didn't use them as like a training tool. But now,
do you now?
Oh yeah, with iRacing, it is so unbelievably realistic. And I've got this amazing simulator that SimSeats gave me. So when I'm not in the race car, like I'm about to go race at a dirt track this weekend. Next week we're in Kansas. So I can spend 2-3 hours a day in my simulator at home racing against people around the country. And I'm not kidding. It is so realistic that when I show up to a racetrack, I feel like I've already been there. When I go to Ford, I drive for Ford. So when I go to the Ford Performance Technical Center in Charlotte, there are simulators like this. I don't know what my guess is, like this $20 million simulator that I physically get into, like a car that flies in the air. When I go over cracks and bumps in the road and the car spins out, the car that I'm in actually does that. And it's this giant IMAX screen. And that's how I train. To get physically in the race car, let's say it costs anywhere between $25,000 to $75,000 a day. But so that's really hard to do, right?
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
Jeez.
If you can get in the simulator and kind of learn as much as you can, oh man, it's been a game changer for preparation and all that. So I spend a lot of time, not as much as I want to spend more on iRacing, racing against, as many people I can around the world. And it's been really fun for sure.
Dude, no, that's insane, man. Oh my God, I'd be using that all the time if that was being able to practice, not actually, in a race and getting that feel.
But
iRacing,
the emotions,
I got to look that up. I've never heard. Right. No, you're literally like, experiencing.
Yeah. Like I was leading a race the other day on iRacing, and the pressure that you feel when you're leading, going, don't make mistakes. You can't slow, like you got to finish this race. You don't get to, experience that all the time actually in the race car. So to get to have those feelings, those emotions go through you when you're practicing at home, man, that's huge. It's a game changer for sure. So I love it. You haven't heard of iRacing?
I haven't. No, what? I have to, dude, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I haven't. I'll have to, maybe I haven't. I'm just like completely drawing a blank right now.
It is like the cool thing about it is, unlike just going in and, playing NASCAR 2010. I don't know. I'm just, that's why I used to have that on GameCube or whatever. I don't know, where even if you like sign up online, you race with other people, there might be people up there just trying to crash you and take you out. So in iRacing, you start with an account and you have like a rookie license, and you have to race in the rookie series and race against people who are like you. But if you crash, if you wreck people, if you do dangerous things in the game, you lose your license or you get banned. So it makes it fun because it actually is just competitive, right? Everyone's trying to compete rather than having the guy who's in there trying to, ruin someone's day. So I like it in that really sense that it's very serious, maybe almost too serious to a lot of people, but I love it. I love it.
No, I love it, man. I mean, I love that you love it, man. I feel the energy even just talking about it. And I mean, the fact that here we are super focusing on NASCAR instead of all of your other, incredible accomplishments in acting. I think I know which one, you're more passionate about. And you even said like, your entire life, you weren't the traditional, star, right? Like you're when I think of like a child star, right? I think of now, like as an adult, kind of looking back, you always see all these kids get fucked up and they get into like drugs and get into alcohol and all this stuff. And I think it's because a lot of the times they don't, like an 8-year-old isn't like, I want to act.
Yeah.
Well, right. A lot of the time. Of course. Yeah. I would say most of the time, right? I think that there are parents that are like, I want my kid to be a star. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then they like, push them into acting, push them into commercial roles, push them into acting, and then until they, they get the role and then, but like if the kid doesn't want it, right, and isn't super passionate about it and isn't being protected along the way, things can go wrong.
I never, ever felt like I belonged, if that makes sense. Like I always felt like an outsider. Even when, like, this sounds, I hate even saying this. I was nominated for Emmys and Golden Globes, right? When I was 13, 14 years old, right? I felt so awkward being at those award shows because I felt like there's no way, like, how am I in this room? I always felt like I was an outsider. I just did. So I never really fully dove into the actory lifestyle or the things that most actors get into. I don't know, but I did grow up in LA, at the height of my career, 14 to 21 years old on Malcolm in the Middle.
prime time, dude. That's like prime like brain develop. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, I was going to the Playboy Mansion. I was going to stuff. So it wasn't that I was like lived this shelter life where I just didn't see it. But I also, this is going to sound weird.
I'm ready, bro.
I don't know how to explain this. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I didn't realize that everybody smokes pot, right? Until I was 19 years old. Like, how did I miss that for the first, for when teenagers start trying to drink and do things? I grew up thinking, for some reason, not because my parents instilled it in me, because now that I know, now that I'm older, my dad smokes pot every single day, right? Like he did my whole I didn't know though. And I thought the only people who did were criminals that you'd see on an episode of Cops.
Dude, we are literally, I don't think you understand. Like, I think we're the exact same person, dude. Like, I didn't have a sip of alcohol until I was like literally 20 and a half, right? Yeah, like right before my 21st birthday. Yeah. And it was only because like my brother would like, I would just have some drinks like when he would like throw a party or something.
Yeah. It's just a weird.
And I never smoked.
Yeah.
Like I did. I thought it was criminals too. I was like, I'll get arrested, dude.
I can't do that. But then to find out, like, even though I was there, I was in the shit show of it.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I thought like, that's an oddity. I don't know. Where, cut to, I remember going home to visit because I bought my first house when I was 16 or 17.
Nice.
And my mom moved back to New Jersey because my sister was there, my family was there. And I remember flying back, maybe I was 17 or 18. My sister's a year and a half older than me. And we went to dinner with my whole family. And my mom ordered my sister, I'm not trying to get her in trouble. This is 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
Alrighty, bro.
But like, she ordered her a drink, like an alcoholic beverage. And my sister was like 19. And I remember thinking like, what is happening? Like,
like gasp,
who
like,
are you? Like,
yes.
And so it's weird because like I said, like, I have stories, trust me. I did play in my life, right? Like of course, crazy things. But like, I don't know why people always ask like, how did you get away with becoming, how did you get,
how did you not get consumed by it? Right.
I don't know what it is, but that I think is part of it. So then when I was 19, when I finally started opening my eyes and seeing that like, oh, whoa, I'm the different one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt like I had made it almost so long without it, like as if like at 19 I was so old, you know what I mean, in my mind, when you're 18, 19, you think like,
you think
everything
100%. Right? Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm just never gonna do it, like, it's my thing now. It just became my thing. I'm 37 years old. I don't drink. I never have. I've never done anything, and not that like I don't care if other people do. It's not that like it's just my thing, and for some reason it is. So by missing that element of kind of going down that path of like hard drugs that typical child actors go down, I think that might have helped me get away from, not that I was trying to get away from the business, but to step away and not have necessarily most of the negative things that happen. Right?
Dude.
I think another big element for most child actors, now that I'm 37, I've stepped away from it. It gave me a greater, leaving the business for when I did and going racing or doing other things, pursuing other businesses. It made me appreciate everything that I had so much more. And it taught me like now that when I have an opportunity to dive in 100%. I think what a lot of things that happen with child actors who have success is you get so used to having people all day, every day, talking
like a lot
about
of yes men.
Yes. Yeah. Telling you what you want to hear, but also making, oh, you're so good in that. I love your thing. And you get a lot of attention, but eventually it stops. There's the funny line in the movie Ted. I think they say something like,
great movie.
It doesn't matter if you're, whether you're Corey Feldman, Frankie Muniz, or Justin Bieber, eventually nobody gives a shit. Right? And I was in the movie watching that movie, not knowing that line was going to be in there. Thought it was hilarious. But it's true. Like it's 100. And I think that child actors or people who have that fame think that it's going to last forever. So when that starts to diminish or they get less attention or they, they're not the cute little kid they were and they're, not getting jobs and not getting that, you take it personally. right?
Right.
So if you didn't go down the bad path before, now you feel, you're depressed, you feel down. So I think there's an element of that. People need that constant attention. And when they're not getting it, they look for
other ways,
other ways to kind of,
or the outlets,
outlets, or get that vibe, you get that feeling, or they go off the deep end, go crazy, whatever it is. I don't know. Yeah, this is just my opinion. I don't know for sure because I'm just me, right? But
no, I think that's a very. I mean, you were in it, right? And I think that it's a very it's a very, very good assessment of what is more than likely happening to It's just you have to have like a strong foundation. It's just like anything. It's just like anything. I like, let's not even take child fame. Let's just take fame in general.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have good core values already instilled and a good group around you, right? Like a good family around you to, to instill just good values, I think anyone can become corruptible, right? Yeah, especially 100%. If they're in the industry too long and they're just surrounded by, the wrong people, right? Like it can be their co-stars, it can be, the people who are, directing and then some, right? Like, all the, I mean, there's,
true. Yeah, that is right. True. You say that and I go, really, I was fortunate on Malcolm that all the cast and crew were super dedicated. We all were friendly, all got along, all had a great time. There wasn't necessarily a bad apple. If you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where if you think you could have had the other people that I'm surrounded with growing up with that were kind of pushing things on me. And I fortunately didn't have that. I've seen it with a lot of my friends who were in the business when I was a kid. Like a lot of the Disney kids, I'll say it. Man, they were crazy. Those kids were crazy.
Bro. I've a lot of I've been looking at a lot of before and afters on the Disney side of things, man. It's it is pretty crazy, dude. I grew up on Disney, bro. Like all those shows, bro, that was like that literally was my childhood. I love those shows.
Yeah, it is weird to think, but you also, you do have the attention on you. A lot of people
it's stressful
in life in general, right? Might go through a period of negative, right? Might go through a period of having a bout with addiction, with alcohol, but you're not necessarily, you don't have the cameras pointed at you to see it. Maybe
it's just that they're in the spotlight. It makes it even worse.
So maybe you go, oh wow, all these child actors went off the deep end. Well, there's a lot of people who do a lot of bad things all the time.
Right, and it just so happens that they're just in the spotlight of it all. Yeah, no, you're absolutely, absolutely right, Frankie. That's a great assessment. I think it just becomes very unfortunate that the stars, people who are famous in general, they have a lot more eyes on them, and you can see it. There are people definitely dealing with, struggling with alcoholism and addiction, that aren't millionaires and with millions and millions of followers. So
yeah, for sure. AFK with Ninja.
All right, dude. Let's talk about something a little lighter, man. I have it here that you're an avid golfer. You mentioned golfing earlier in the podcast, man. Yep. I have just started.
Nice.
My journey. I am addicted painfully.
Yes. So I definitely, golf is probably one of my favorite things in life. The thing about golf is like you're never done. Meaning like, one day you could golf the best round in the history of life, and the next day, literally, you can't even make contact with the ball. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. Like you're never gonna be good all the time. Does that make sense? Like it's a constant battle, and it's so mental. And then once you get like in your head, you're done. You're done.
Dude, it's already in my head, and I mean, I've hit the range for 2 hours straight the last like 3 days in a row. Wow, I'm just head over heels. So
somehow I haven't played golf in a year. And
oh no! Well, you know what, dude? It's all right.
Well, just with the racing, I've got a baby now. I got a lot going on. But I look back and I go, how did I have time to do that? Because it is very time consuming, but I did love it. I love it. We got to play sometime. Maybe let's get together. Let's play. Get me back out on the course, and we'll get addicted again. I'll get addicted again because of you.
All right. Well, let's. I don't want to be. I don't want to hear from the missus when it's like Frankie's been gone for the last week and a half, just golfing with this fucking ninja kid. What's funny? What the hell's going on?
My wife, when I met her, she was actually a professional golfer.
No way,
so I was like,
dude.
oh my God, this is like my dream. Like I'm like, and we got together, I think almost 8 years ago. And we might have played golf 4 times together in 8 years.
No way. Dude, I would have tried to go every week. Hey, hon, you want to play a quick night and catch dinner in a movie? That would have been
that's what I thought
my
it was
thing.
Gonna be, but no.
Well,
no.
What did it end up being?
So she decided she was going through like a little mental episode when it comes to golf, right? Because it's such a mental game. And when you get 100%. Frustrated, she's like, I just don't want to play golf anymore. She just she started to hate it. And
dang.
It was kind of right when I was playing a lot. Like, so she started just like caddying for me. Like I played in all these tournaments.
Dude, that's so fun.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And she was happy with not playing. And then like didn't play for so long to where now when she goes, or if we go to the driving range or we go play a little bit, same thing. She has expectations of what she thinks it's going to be. And when it's not that, she just gets frustrated.
No.
But now it's more of like, we just have so much going on in our lives. Like somehow we're literally so nonstop that I can't even think, like I go, we wouldn't even have the opportunity. Like I don't have time to go hit a bucket of balls, never mind play for 6 hours, 5 hours. I think we're going to, we plan on getting back into it. What we always say is like, I want my son to start playing golf young. So hopefully when he gets a little older.
You got to get him into the non-contacts, bro, right? Like introduce him to kicking in the NFL, like make him be the best kicker and get him into golf, tennis, something that can, really set him up for life.
Well, golf is one of those things that physically. You can do forever, right?
Exactly, dude. He could be the GOAT at 18 and just start killing it.
So I think that once he gets to that age where we can kind of do it as a family, I think that'll be fun for us to make
absolutely.
like something that we do. So I'm hoping for that. But no, so she was a pro golfer. And you know what? She was a Counter-Strike player.
What is happening right now, man? There's that.
So she played for, I wish she was here. She played like on a team. Like this is 10 years ago. I don't know. Whatever it was.
And Counter-Strike professionally has been around for like, 2 decades, I think.
Yeah, so she was really serious in it, but she got in trouble because she was underage or something. And you weren't allowed.
Classic.
So she wasn't allowed, because it's like a mature game. And so she got in like this whole thing. And so she stopped gaming. So but there's these things that we look back at and I'm like, man, I love my wife and I'm thrilled with the person that she is. But like, I think back at like her past and I'm like, oh my God, like she still is my dream girl, but she really like, no wonder she was my dream girl. She was a gamer, a golfer, man.
You got to be kidding me, bro. Well, hey, well done, man. Well done.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Dude. So, dude, you have a son. How old is he? And what's that like? What's like the biggest change so far since you've had him?
Yeah, my son is now 2.5. To be honest, he was the reason why I went back racing. Because I was holding him in the hospital bed the day he was born. And it's such an insane feeling, right? And I know it's cliche and cheesy. People go, oh, you don't know love until you see your child for the first time. It's so
classic.
True. But I'm sitting there holding him, and I was thinking about what is my son, or who is my son going to grow up thinking that his dad is, right? Everything I've done so many great things, and I'm grateful for it, but it was all in the past. It was all things where I go, I used to be an actor. I used to race cars. I used to play in a band. I used to own these businesses. I used to do this. But like at the moment, I was kind of not really doing anything. It hit me that like I didn't want him to grow up not seeing me work hard for something or strive for something or having drive or whatever. And it hit me right then. The one thing that I really felt like I had unfinished business in was racing. And although most people, when they have a kid, especially 37 years old, they usually slow down. Stop bungee jumping. Stop jumping out of planes. Stop doing the dangerous things. Sell the motorcycles.
Naturally.
Not that I said the opposite. Like, I'm not trying to get hurt, but I went into a sport that is very dangerous. But there's the camaraderie around the race team, around the race series, the other drivers. And it's a really, really cool life that I thought I really wanted to bring him up in. So I dove back in for the racing. Being a dad is one of the greatest things, the greatest thing I've ever accomplished, but it's extremely hard. And it is something that does eat at me because he's the motivation behind me going racing. But now I'm gone 4 days a week, right? So I'm toying and fighting with that dilemma of like, I'm doing this to be an example to him, but I'm also not with him as much as I feel like I should be. And that's a really tough thing.
Yeah, no, you got to try to find the balance, I guess.
Try to find the balance. He's still like, he's coming with me this weekend. I have 2 races. So my wife and him are coming, but he's still right at that age where it's hard to put him on, 5 airplanes in 4 days. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So trying to find that balance and still be as competitive as I can be and be putting in the time I need to be putting in to be ready for the racing, but also being a good dad. And just being 100% honest with you, like, I don't know, I've never really said this to anyone. Like, I feel like I'm a really good dad, but at the same time, I feel like I could be so much better. Or like just by time and giving him more of my attention. So I'm working on that, but it's a constant battle, right? It's a constant that you need to focus.
No, always. No, I get it, man. I think, I've had a lot of, my dad's pretty much retired now. And, all 3 of his boys, me and my 2 older brothers, we're all married. My oldest brother has 3 kids. My middle brother just had his first kid. Nice. Like he's at that like, grandpa age now and like grandpa mindset where he's giving out a lot of like advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one thing that he said was like, even looking back, he's just like, I always think I could have been better, but I just try to be the best dad that I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is like what he is, when we get into our Scotch nights and we're, singing old songs and it always comes down to that. Like what he always says is he's like, I just try to be the best that I could. Yeah. And I think that, you're already talking about it right now, man. You're already thinking you could even be better. I think you're already there, man. I think it's one day at a time.
I toyed with the issue of like, I want the racing more than not more than anything, but like I want it bad. You know what I mean? I want to compete. I love it. I'm truly feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be when I'm in that race car. But then half of me also goes, why am I doing
dude,
it?
I don't know, man. There's nothing wrong. Listen, dude, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Having a dream and having a goal and being that passionate about something like outside, like, I don't know, man. I think that gives people purpose. I think that gives men purpose and like,
but should my purpose be being just the best dad possible? Right?
Dude, you physically being there, right? Like they still take naps and they sleep, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day. It's still like
not my son. I wish.
Oh man, dude, I my brothers, I guess, got really lucky. But like, it's like, okay, picture. So you say you're gone 4 days a week, right?
Yeah,
roughly, and that's during the on season, right? It's when you're in season. Do you think about the parents that are gone, 9 to 5, 5 days out of the week, and then sometimes travel on the weekends?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I know.
It's dude, just do your listen. You need a career.
Yes.
I think that I think one of the most important things in the world for a man's mental health is to work. Right? Is to feel like they're working, to feel like, not make it all, at a certain point and then just stop and coast.
Yeah.
Like, and not work, right? Not put effort in. I really do feel like it's super healthy. So dude, right now, that's what you're doing, man. You're following your dream. You're passionate about something. You're, even if the reasons are selfish, you want your son to have a good view of you as he gets older, right? Not something that you've done in your past, is something that you're working for. I think all of those things are great reasons, man. And as long as you're continuing to do that, you're also continuing to be like, while I am doing this, what else can I do to be, a better father, man? I think you'll figure it out. I think you're already figuring it out, man. So don't stress too much on it.
No, yeah, for sure. I love him. And that's part of it too. You don't realize like where you go, man, every time he goes to sleep, right? At night.
Yeah.
As soon as I put him down and I walk away, I'm like, oh, I miss him. Like I want to play with him again. Like it's the funniest thing. Half of you is like, oh, I can't wait for him to go to bed so I can, watch an episode of Suits.
Watch something. Yes. Great, dude. Great show, man. I've watched it like 3 times.
But at the same time he goes to bed, I'm like, oh man, he's cool.
Yeah. Yep. I kind of want to wake him back up, friend. Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, literally, I have so many, like my brothers and so many of my friends that have kids as well. They describe it the exact same way, man. And like, it's like, dude, I think it's okay to be a little selfish and be like, yeah, go to sleep. I want to do this. Yeah. And then I think you do it again. Everything that you're describing to me, man, I think it's totally natural. I think it's perfect. I think you're already a great dad. I think you're going to continue to be one, man.
Thanks, dude.
Dude, hey, listen, and guess what? You know what? You don't need me to tell you that either. But
it's nice to hear.
We're going AFK with Ninja. What's he gonna say? Yahoo!
All right, man. All right, we're going to do a this or that, followed up by some other questions. They can be as short or as long as you want, by the way. So, all right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, North Carolina or New Jersey?
Ooh, North Carolina.
All right, racing gear or red carpet attire?
Racing gear.
I knew the answer to that before I asked you, man. Dancing with the Stars or Masked Singer?
Ooh, I did Dancing with the Stars. I didn't do Masked Singer, but Dancing with the Stars was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. And I'm mad I said no for 12 years. So I'm team Dancing with the Stars 100%.
Oh my God, I've said no for 2 years. I might have to
do it. I'm telling you.
I'll think about it, man.
I'm telling you.
I'm trying to get flexible, bro. I've been stretching every day for the last month. I'm just trying to get my flexibility back.
You're talking to the most unflexible human alive. And the person, even though I was an actor, I consider myself shy. I do not dance. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Do it. I promise.
Wow. Okay. All right. Jesus. Don't tell my wife that, because then I'm 100% in.
Do it. Do it.
Okay. Would you want your son to get into acting or racing?
I don't want to say that I wouldn't want him to get into acting. I would love for him to get into racing, but my wife has already said no way. And it's funny now that he's here, now that he's my son. Before you have kids, you're like, oh, he's gonna do this, and I'm gonna have him do this, or I'm gonna push him into this, or whatever. Obviously he has his own little personality. I'm afraid when he runs that he's gonna fall and scrape his knee. I don't think I think
it's the first kid syndrome, dude.
I don't think
I
could watch him get in a race car and go at 5 years old, 110 miles an hour. I don't know. Yep. I feel like it'd be pretty hard. But if I had to choose, he'd definitely be a race car driver over being an actor.
Love it. All right. Being in your 20s or being in your 30s? There's a right answer to this.
There is?
I mean, we're both 30, so come on, help me out.
Well, no, I obviously enjoy being in my 30s because I definitely look back at my 20s and I'm grateful of my 20s, but wish I could redo my 20s, right? But when you're in your 20s, maybe that's why I almost want to say 20s, because I go, oh, there's things I would do differently. But being in my 30s, no, I think it's amazing. Although I don't feel 37, right?
That's great.
When I watch an episode of, if I'm watching Maury, because I watch Maury, and they're like, oh, blah, 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 21. I'm like, oh, we're the same age. I'm like, no, I could literally be their father.
Dude, you literally, oh man.
I'm like, wait, I didn't I'm racing these kids. I'm at the driver meeting with them and we're chatting. I'm like, oh, we're boys. I'm like, no, you're 17. That's weird. Yep. I'm going to go hang out with the other old drivers. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing with me. When I'm talking shit in a video game, I'm like, oh my God, bro. I'm 32. These guys, I might have just, eliminated a 10-year-old.
I like being in my 30s though, for sure. I don't mind it.
I do too. I do too. All right, man. Day night out or day night in?
I'm definitely a homebody when I can be. When we're home, I'm excited to be home. I don't need to go out. I don't need to do anything. But at the same time, now that we've had my son, we make a day every week where we go out, right? Just me and her. Cool. And it's been nice. So I do enjoy the time out, but I'm a homebody. If I had the option, I would stay home.
All right. I love, dude. Same. IndyCar or Formula One?
I'm going to say IndyCar, and here's why. Sorry if you wanted a short answer.
No, you're good, dude. You're good.
Formula One is amazing, right? It's the pinnacle of motorsports. But when you watch Formula One, which I love and I watch every week, you know who's going to win the race. You know that it's going to be between two drivers and they're going to win. The cool thing about IndyCar is it's the same style of racing. There's way more passing, way more drama. But there's 24 drivers who start every single race that could win. And that makes it, once you know that and you know the drivers, it makes it so much more of a fun of a sport to watch, I think, as a racer.
Noted. I'm gonna store that away, and I'm gonna freaking honestly probably start watching. I need to start watching. I do love it. Moving on to the other questions now. What is your favorite classic car?
Ooh, favorite classic car. I'm gonna go with any of the first gen Mustangs. I don't know. Whenever I see them, I always say I want one. I never had one. But I did have a Porsche Speedster, which I loved, a little '56 Porsche Speedster. But no, I'm definitely gonna say a Mustang, old Mustang.
Okay. This one is very interesting. I'm excited to hear your answer. If Bryan Cranston called you right now for a Malcolm reboot, would you do it?
100%.
Oh my God, I love that, dude. What is one video game you can't wait to experience with your kid?
Oh, that's a tough one.
If any, by the way, I don't know, how early you're gonna introduce gaming.
Like me, I've always even when I was a kid, was obsessed with racing games. I would start whatever it was. If it was NASCAR 2004, F1,
I'd say get him into Mario Kart, dude. All right, that'll be the first. Unless you want to just go all in, bro, and just immediately get him into like real racing.
Yeah, well, he's 2.5. I don't push cars on him at all, but he is obsessed with cars. Everything that is a circle, he pretends is a steering wheel. So I think he's going to be pretty into those. I was like, my life of video games, my favorite times of video games was like Super Nintendo, right? I had that game F-Zero. I loved it. All the NBA Live 94, 90. I would delete all the players and make it be like me, my cat, my dog, my mom was on the team. And like everyone was a 99 and like never missed.
Yeah.
Those are the good old days. But
I did, miss it. For sure.
I don't know. I mean, I think definitely I'm excited to do racing games with him just because it'd be fun to compete against him in that. I think I'm not good at any other video game, so that's the truth. Like I can win a racing game. I can beat him for a longer time. So
there you go. All right, listen, no shame. All right, we're down to the final two questions, and we ask all of our guests these same questions at the end. If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your phone, which ones would you keep? And like your phone. And basically, you have to download them from the App Store, right? So not phone calls, not FaceTime, not like, messages or anything like that.
Directions. So MapQuest. Yeah. I use MapQuest, bro.
Oh, no. Oh, dude.
It works amazing. Right. It works amazing. Yeah. I'm just going to say that. And B, someone's got to use it. So I'm the one using MapQuest. So that's going to stay on my phone, okay?
Okay.
I have the Peloton app on my phone, because I use it to like prep for my races. They have like meditation. They've got stretches, warm-ups. I do all that before the race. I could just do it anywhere, right? On my phone. So I think I would keep that one for sure. I like Instagram. I'm not going to lie. Even though I don't want to be on it as much as you get on that endless scroll cycle. Mm-hmm. And I hate that.
A little guilty pleasure. Okay.
But it is fun. I just got a smartphone back about 3 months ago.
What were you using before that?
Have you heard of the light phone?
Yeah.
I had a light phone, which is just talk, text, and a calculator. It was probably the best thing I ever did for myself, because with the smartphone, you have so much more access to people and so much it makes communication, makes things easier. But in a sense, it makes it so easy that I actually communicate with people less than I ever have when I have my smartphone. When I had my light phone, I realized I responded to everyone more. I talked on the phone. I called my mom. I could talk to people. I was way more responsible when it came to communication because it was the only option. Does that make sense? I couldn't just sit there and go I'm waiting. I'm sitting in a waiting room. I could just scroll on Twitter, scroll on Instagram, do whatever. When the only option is texting people back, you become a way better friend.
Wow.
I really actually enjoyed that to where I might actually go back. So I might not even have a smartphone. I won't have any apps again.
Yeah, you kind of just honestly reality check me a little bit too, man. I think there's a lot of times where I'll just sit there, I'll see a text message, and I'll immediately just be like, let's go Twitter, let's go TikTok.
I'll respond to that later, and then it's no longer unread. So 4 months later, you're like, oops.
Oh, yeah, and they didn't send a follow-up text either.
No wonder I have no friends. That's what I said.
There you go, dude. Oh, all right, man. Final question, dude. So this is the AFK podcast. It stands for Away from Keyboard. But, it's more of like a philosophical question, right? So define AFK in your own words, man. What do you do when you're away from keyboard? Or, let's just say, I guess in this instance, away from, racing.
This might be the lamest answer ever. I don't know.
You got to figure it out, dude.
I need to figure it out. You know what I mean? My wife and I were actually having this discussion last night. We put my son down. We're always so on the go. always so
just
like,
we
have to do this and I've got to get back to this person. I've got a to-do list of 1,000 things before I leave out of town again. And I literally said to her, I go, I don't know how to relax, because my brain doesn't let me. My brain is always thinking of the things that I need to do if I'm not doing them. To be honest, I don't have a good answer to that because I'm constantly searching for what that is for me and need to figure it out. So maybe I'll work on it and next time we chat, I'll be able to answer that. But right now, that is a to be determined because I don't think I know how to unwind.
Okay. Well, dude, now you got some homework. As much as I hate to, I hated to receive it, hate to give it out. But dude,
I mean, listen,
yeah, no, I absolutely love it, man. Frankie, dude, I'm so happy that you decided to come on here, man. I appreciate it. I had an incredible conversation, incredible time with you here, bud.
No, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you having me, and I hope we'll get to do it again in the future.
I mean, I'm sure that we absolutely will, man. And there you have it, folks. We've reached the end of another epic AFK with Ninja episode. If you've enjoyed the journey thus far, please consider leaving a rating, review, and hitting that follow button. We have a ton of incredible guests coming your way, and I want you to be the first to know when a new episode drops. Until next time, catch you soon.